Hi and welcome to WEH Videos. My name is Skip and this is our second flight for Skip's Air. I hope you watched the introduction on Skip's Air and being a bush pilot in Indonesia, New Guinea. So today I'm going to give you a demo flight from Tim Kamoz's WABP, and we're going to fly to Duma, WX74. But this is more about showing you things you can do and explain so you're able to get out of trouble when you get stuck in the mountains as you are trying new flights. Some of the things I will show you here just might help you some as you try your flying as a bush pilot in New Guinea. So as I mentioned in the introduction, and again if you haven't watched that I suggest you do, I had to make some changes to these airports or these landing strips because they were totally unusable in some circumstances. So one of the things I mentioned was I was going to give you a flight path that I took to get to this airport. Now this one's pretty simple, and here's the path that I took. Now, to land at WX74, there was some problems. First of all, I had to flatten the airport. Here's the airport or the landing strip, and as you can see, the runway is hanging off the edge of a cliff and it's totally unusable. The airstrip is actually right here. So what I did was I went into World Editor, WED, and I repositioned the runway so it actually follows the runway, and I removed some of these trees here a little bit so we could get to the runway. So this approach is going to be a little bit different. So let me show you. So here's what it looks like now. I have a dirt runway in there, which it actually is in the real world, I do believe, and it's not flopping over this cliff. So I've cleared out a few trees here. So now you can see the approaches. We're going to have to come in at this little bit of an angle and make a kind of a hard right turn to land on this strip. So this is going to be a really fun flight to take. So here we go. We're going to fly from Timka to Duma, and the route we're going to take is this one here I have. So let's jump into this wonderful Porter aircraft at Skip's Air at Tim Kamoz's. All right, here we are back at Skip's Air. Let's jump in here and get started. We're just about ready to go. I've got everything running. I did the pre-flight and all that stuff. And now, as you guys know, I always fly manually. I do not like to use autopilot at all, especially up here when I'm flying around these remote areas. But for you folks who want to use Mr. GPS or your Garmin, one of the things we can do just to help us a little bit is we can use the Garmin and do a direct to. Now I've already put in the code here, and I'm just going to hit activate, and now it says WX74. We have the course that we're going to fly, and it looks like about 335 degrees. And that's all I'm going to use that for, just to get me a good idea of which way we're going. Now we're ready to take off. And to avoid all this taxi time, I'm just going to reappear in a couple of seconds at the runway ready for takeoff. Okay, we're ready to go. I've done all I need to do for taking off, so here we go. This is, again, the Pilatus Porter. Really cool airplane, tail dragger. And these things are a little more difficult to use. All right, so for this video, I am going to use the heading and the altitude bug just because it's difficult to talk and fly at the same time. I'll get back over here, and we want to fly around 335, so I put the heading bug there. Now remember that Duma, WX74, is at 4,793 feet. So when we look at the map, as we fly up this way, coming up this valley here, we really see there's Nothing really high that we need to deal with. We don't have any mountains to go over, so we should be able to pick an altitude and fly directly to WX74. And I think somewhere around 5,500 feet would be all right. So let's just continue on, climbing on up. I'm going to be using the map quite a bit here, so you may want to program a key on your keyboard or something on your joystick to bring up the map. So I just have to hit the button and I bring the map right up. That's quite convenient. And let's take a look at the map as we go. So as you can see, we're here and we're pretty much heading in the right direction. Now I'm going to refer to this map quite often as I go. This is the easiest way to get to these remote airstrips. So you're going to notice this flight's going to be awful bumpy, and sometimes I'm going to pause and it looks like I'm going to pick up in some other location, and I just can't help that. There's just no way I can make this video just flying to show you. So it's going to look like I stopped and started over in places. That's just the way it's going to have to be here. So I also want to stop and just show you some things that you might want to use in making your own flights. You might want to fly from Duma to one of these other remote airstrips, and that's where it gets really complicated. So some of the things I want to show you might make it a little easier for you just to be able to do that. All right, I'm going to pause here and we'll pick this up when I get to 5,500 feet. All right, I'm back. We're at 5,500 feet roughly. We're going to turn off our booster pump here. So let's just talk about this great little airplane, the Pilatus Porter. This is the coolest airplane. What I really love about this is you can make the instrument panel any way you like. We have this little button over here. We look at this and we click on panel and it says enable 3D panel edit. When you click on this, now you can grab these instruments and put them wherever you want to put them. And there's different instruments you can put on this airplane. It is really quite nice. That's just one of the great features I like about this aircraft. Another feature I really like, and I find it very helpful when flying around here, is we have a radar altitude. So what this is going to show you, and I want to demonstrate this when we get up to the mountains, this is going to show you how far above the mountain ranges you are. So as we're flying, this will indicate our altitude above the surface. This will be very useful, and I'm going to demonstrate that in a little bit. So we've been flying out of Timka Moses, but when you start going to a couple of different places, it gets pretty challenging. So once you're out of Timka Moses and you're up in the mountains and you want to go to another one of these remote places, you might want to refer to the Sushi Air map that I created. And this obviously is going to be available for download, but I have the altitudes at all these different locations so you can get an idea of what you're going to have to do and determine what altitude you may need to fly to get to that other place. And again, when we take a look at the map, we can look at the colors and tell that, all right, if we're going up this way, obviously this mountain range is a lot higher than this one. The darker the color, the higher the mountain range. And this map will at least give you some idea of the altitudes you are going to have to climb to. Well, we see now I'm a little off course here. I'm going to have to make a little correction and turn to the left a little bit. So let's just make a little heading correction. Now looking here, it looks like this is the canyon we want to be flying up right here. So let's just keep turning. And now we can use these visual references. We're going to go up this canyon, up this way, and over in here is going to be Whiskey X-Ray 74. All right, so we're getting pretty close here, and things are starting to get interesting. We are now entering this canyon, and you will notice here that we got some mountains up here that are a little higher than we're flying. So now things can get kind of fun. And we're just going to drop this over here so we can get an idea of where we are in relation to the runway. Notice as we scroll in more, you'll be able to see the runway, and that'll really help as we get closer. So here we are. We're going to put this down there. And now we're just going to fly up this canyon. And that's what we obviously normally would do if we had been here before. But I'm going to pretend that we've never flown up here before. We really don't know where we're going. We need to scout this place out. So when you're trying to fly from one of these locations to another, you can just get in your airplane here like we are here and head up the canyon and hope for the best. But since we're an X-plane here, there are things that we can do to make it a little easier so we don't get lost or stuck in a canyon with no way out and slamming into a mountain. Now I'm guessing in real life they're going to fly over this airstrip at 8 or 10 or some other altitude and look for the mountain ranges and stuff, and they probably have charts and stuff that gives them the elevation of these mountains. And since we don't have that, we're going to have to figure that out for ourselves. For the first thing I recommend when you're in a position like this, you're coming to the canyon and you've got this far, I would go up to File, Save Flight, and then you're going to give it a name. Okay, at Canyon, and save it. Now, if you have a problem and you find yourself where there's no way out, you don't want to restart the whole flight. Now you can go up here to Load Flight and find at Canyon right there. And I suggest you do this as you continue up the canyon. At some point you might want to save the flight again as another part of that flight. Next, I want to talk about the map, and this is going to be one of your best tools when you're going to a new location for the first time. So here are some really cool things you can do with the map. You can right-click your mouse to position your airplane wherever you want, find any location. Up here you have a button that will center your airplane in the middle of the map. You have zoom in and zoom out button up there, and if you have a scroll wheel, you can do the same. Over here we have flight path, and that's checked, but I just started a new flight here, so we don't have that nice little red line that showed our flight path, but you can turn that on and off here, and you have compass rose, and that'll give you, that can be helpful to help you determine which direction you are going. The other thing is, this is VFR sectional chart. So you want to make sure you're at VFR sectional chart. Now, this is where it gets to be a lot of fun. You can select your airplane. It's got to turn yellow. And now you'll find aircraft number 1. It tells you what you're flying. It shows your heading, your altitude, and your speed, and pitch. You can change all these things. And this is very helpful when checking out new locations. So we know that Whiskey X-Ray 74 is at 4,793 feet, but we don't know the elevation of these ranges around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the airplane and we're going to change the altitude to 7,000 feet and hit enter. And if we get rid of the map, we can go outside and we can look around and we can see if we're above or below the mountain ranges right around us. And it looks like, yeah, we're doing pretty good except for that one over there. So maybe we want to go at 8,000 feet. So let's bring the map up and we're just going to change this to 8,000. And now we realize, all right, this is probably a pretty good idea to scout this area out. Not too shabby. How high is this area right here, this mountain range? Let's just grab the airplane and just drag it over there. Set it right there. And now we can take a look at our radar altitude. And now this is in hundreds of feet, so that's 100, 200, 300, 1,000, 1,500. Let's just call that 1,700 feet above that mountain range. And that tells us that that is an elevation of 6,300 feet. And we can make a note of that. So as you can see, this map can be very helpful when you're trying to figure out how to get to these places. You can grab your airplane and pretty much take it anywhere you want. So let's just say you're flying up a canyon and you get here and you realize there's no way out. You can just get the map, drag your airplane back without having to reload a saved flight or anything. And let's just say, okay, you're right here and okay, there's no way out. I'm going to crash. Just grab the compass, turn the airplane around, and now you can fly back out. So these are some of the things I use to help me get to these remote locations instead of having to start a flight all over again. It is very useful. So let's get back to our flight. Let's just drag the airplane back here to the front of the canyon. We'll turn it around, heading up the canyon, and we'll put in the 5,500 feet. And let's just see what we got. Well, here we are, right back where we started. Pretty cool, huh? Now to navigate this canyon, I've moved the map down here and zoomed in or zoomed out a little bit so I can get an idea visually. And with Mr. Garmin here, I have the distance and estimated time. So I'm just going to slide that over here just so I can see the distance and time it's going to take. So let's head up the canyon. All right, it looks like 8.9 miles and 4 minutes and 17 seconds. We're at 5,700 feet, and we need to get down to 4,793 feet. That's airfield elevation. So we're going to start to descend. And there's the airfield right there. So let's see if I can land this thing. You can see here that the runway looks a lot more natural going along the side of this cliff. So that really, really helps. Now I don't have a lot of experience in this Porter, and landing and taking off in a tail dragger is a little different and more difficult. You need to land on those front wheels as a rule, and you need to be really careful with the rudder. The tail can just take off on you and you'll end up spinning around in circles. So I need to be really careful here. And this is where rudder pedals really make a difference. You can see here I can straighten up with the rudder pedals, land it on the front tube. Now I'm going to pull back on the yoke to bring that tail down on the ground. And if I were to hit that pedal really hard, I would spin right around in circles. So this is, it takes a while to get used to this. Now I want to talk about some settings that will help you, some things that you should do or could do. For instance, I like to set the buttons up to certain things. So button number 1 here, I have set up for circle. And this is a view, and what that does is it allows me to go outside and look around. So let me just show you. If I click on that button now, it takes me outside, and now I have a rocker that will let me go around, and I have another rocker that lets me go up and down, and another one that zooms out and zooms in. This is really helpful, so when you're coming into a new place, you can get the outside view and see how you're doing. And it's really simple to go back and forth. I have another button that takes me right back here to the front view. These are just little things that make flying in situations that you haven't been before a little bit easier. So that's it for this little video on helping you get through the mountains in New Guinea. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please click the like button. If you want to leave a comment or have a question, please do so. Thank you again for watching, and God bless.